I wanted to come here to Manchester myself to pay my own personal respects.
The violence of that afternoon is something neither family can forget or forgive.
Families at war who used guns and grenades in their disputes. Guns and grenades that would be used to murder two unarmed policewomen responding to a 999 call.
Like I said, it's like watching some film that you know what the end is, but you want to pause it, you want to rewind it and have a totally different ending. And then you've got that realisation that you can't change it.
His own barrister said he would die in prison. Now, Dale Cregan will finally face justice.
When missing turns to murder, when a notorious man with a well-known criminal history is forgotten about, he is missing and mysteriously disappears under Manchester police radar, and unfortunately 4 people would lose their lives in this terrible situation. Hello, welcome back. It has been a little while, about a month or so I'd say. Life happens, as we do, things happen, and I hadn't really had the headspace to do another one of these, but I just want to say thank you so much for all the love and support on my previous videos. It means the absolute world to me, because I love informing people on new cases or even older cases which aren't really spoken about, or those I find interesting and I feel needs some more awareness around certain people. This week's case was recently brought up again on TikTok, out of all places, and the whole scenario completely baffled me to how this happened and why it had happened. So let's get into it. Dale Cregan was born in Tameside, Manchester on the 6th of June 1983 to his parents Paul and Anita Cregan. He was one of 3 siblings. Cregan's older brother Dean was born 2 years earlier and younger sister followed. Before his father left the family and eventually married a former policeman with Greater Manchester Police. His crimes began at an early age, specifically school. He was known for selling cannabis, but it wasn't until when he turned 22 years of age that he would build his weapon collection and have an unhealthy obsession with them, particularly knives and machine guns, out of all things. He also upped his dealing activities by branching out into selling cocaine as well as cannabis as before. He was claiming over £20,000 in profits, but claimed his official job was a plasterer. Friends and family told police early on into this investigation, and even news outlets, that he was bound to go off the rails as such at some point in his life due to his early age antics and antisocial behaviour within the communities and within school and within every scenario of his life. A lot of you may have seen, or you may not know, I found this image terrifying, but Dale Cregan has a very distinctive look. He only has one eye and the other one is blacked out. He would often brag and tell people, friends, family, and even strangers that he lost it in a street fight. But some sources say it was believed to be carved out with a knife under circumstances which were unknown. He has told friends, as a summary, it was a result of a brawl in Thailand. Cregan later, in 2012, moved to Dryden, Greater Manchester. This area was considered turf to the local gang leader David Short. Cregan became an instant threat to Short due to his previous history and who he was as a person, how he behaved. He started working for the rival family called the Atkinsons, which started up a war which they had supposedly, which hasn't been confirmed, they had put a truce back in 2003 as the families had been at war for history. Because he entered the rival family in 2012, this led to the truce being completely wiped out and led to people being ran over, shot at, and there was general violence on the streets of Manchester. The timeline of events which unravelled was short of tragic and disturbing. This truce in 2012 was unspokenly called off when a woman rejected an advance on her by a man, which she later stated that she would get the boys to sort it out, meaning one of the families. The 25th of May 2012, this rejected advance led to a fatal outcome. 23-year-old Mark Short, who was the son to David Short, one of the rival gang leaders, was at the Cotton Tree pub in Dryden, Manchester. It was at the Cotton pub in Dryden, Manchester. Mark Short and David Short were with friends and family when just before closing time, a masked man had entered the pub. All of the people in the pub didn't stand much chance against the rain of bullets which had entered and were aimed at them. The masked man was in and out within a minute, causing so much chaos and distress. Mark Short was shot at in the chest, and 3 other family friends and family members were also injured during this attack. 24 seconds. 24 seconds was the whole attack on the family. However, Mark wasn't the intended target for this. It was his father, David Short, who by some chance was in the bathroom during these 24 seconds. He returned after hearing all the commotion which had unfolded in the pub. Unfortunately, he held his son, Mark Short, as he passed away peacefully in his arms. When the police arrived on scene after the attack, they began to find it very difficult to investigate. This was due to it being rival gang families, and all those involved refused to speak to police about what had carried out in this moment. They also said in interviews they couldn't trust a lot of the witness reports, as they could be painting a false narrative as if they were in relation to the gang members, and they wouldn't want to be seen as a traitor or seen as someone that's snitching to the police and everyone else. Through all these acts, it was rumoured that Dale Cregan had built a reputation to the Atkinson gang. He was known as the muscle that would get the job done quickly and as efficient as possible. However, but some would say he wasn't known to this degree of violence, and he wasn't known to just shoot up loads of people or get involved in such loss and death in any situation. But who knows, after his childhood and his past and his obsessions and his dealings, I don't think anyone could make that assumption that it couldn't have been him. It seemed like Cregan had built a reputation for himself in different communities. He was an enforcer, he was a muscle, but he was also known for not being violent. The police had also had him on their radar due to his criminal history, but somehow needed to link him to the murder of Mark Short. Cregan celebrated this assassination with friends who flew business class to Thailand for a holiday at the luxury Peace Resort. Upon his return, he was greeted by police who were ready to put him into handcuffs. They believed Cregan and 3 other gang members carried out this attack. Police attempted to build a case against him, but not sufficient evidence was found to hold him in a cell, and he was let out on bail, but the other 2 members were apprehended and were linked to the scene and charged with murder. The 10th of August 2012. After watching Usain Bolt win the Olympic gold of the 200 metres, Cregan made final preparations for the murder of David Short, the father of the victim who lost his life in the pub. On the morning of August 10th, Cregan and his friend Anthony Wilkinson, who was said to have owed David Short £20,000 drugs money, gunned down their target at the home in Folkestone Road, East Clayton. David Short, who was 46, was outside his home unloading some stuff from the car when he was brutally attacked. He was shot 10 times with a Glock pistol, a military M70S hand grenade, and also a Yugoslavian military hand grenade was also thrown into the attack. He was pronounced dead on scene when police and paramedics responded. The nation was so shocked at how someone was able to get a hold of this type of weaponry which had been used in this attack. How did someone have this much access to this level of destruction? I don't understand. I can't, when I was researching it, I couldn't piece together how someone could access any of these, unless it was like a black market thing, or maybe because of the gangs they were involved in, it may have linked in somewhere there. I don't know. I couldn't find out how you get a hold of these weapons. During the autopsy of David Short, it was revealed how much damage had been caused. He received such severe tissue damage that even if he had survived, his body would have never recovered from it. Whilst this was released, the autopsy results, a photo was also released into the press, which showed the destruction of the grenade which had caused on the attack. The top of a white van nearby had loads of little holes on impact on the top of it, and it was later said that anyone within a range of this would have died. Prior to all this, the police had issued David with 3 threat to life orders, meaning they feared he would be the next. He would be the next cold-blooded, murdered victim. This conclusion of him being one of the ones to be attacked was after they missed him at the pub attack. And unfortunately, David Short met his end because of this. The same 3 names came up for David's attack as well as his son's. But Dale Cregan was top of the list. He was the police's priority to find, apprehend and question for his crimes. When looking into this attack, the police had also found footage from a Ring doorbell camera This showed Cregan and others walking down Luke Road. He was seen carrying the firearm which he had used to attack David Short. It also caught him pulling out the pin of a grenade and throwing it at an unknown resident and fleeing the area. This was the last Cregan was seen until far later. This war began because of a man having the audacity to disrespect a woman. I don't condone any of this which has happened, as 2 of the Short family members were murdered. People were injured from both scenes, and grenades were thrown at 2 addresses all in the span of a month. The extent of this damage was absolutely disgusting. Cregan went into hiding after the footage being discovered, which started a nationwide manhunt to track him down. He was so well known within the criminal underworld that most people would probably help protect him and continue to keep him hidden until he wanted to come out. The police were at a loose end with some of this, trying to find him because he was so well hidden that they reached out to the military for some advice in regards to the weaponry used and what he had done. They found out that it was the first time that grenades had been used in an attack like this in mainland UK, and their knowledge wasn't strong enough to make judgment on some of the actions they were to follow. The military informed the police that Cregan with his weaponry would have a kill range of 50 metres and a ming range of 100 metres. This proved he was a threat to the nation. So where was he hiding? Where was he hidden? During this time, police reached out to the media for support and coverage on this case and to try and get the word out to any witnesses to come forward, but they struggled. During this time, the exact time all this was going on, Hunt for Dale Cregan, the London 2012 Olympics was going on, which headlines were covering that because it was based here and the focus was on that. And getting the word out was much difficult than they had planned. So police decided to change tactics and offered the reward to the public in hopes someone would come forward. It started with a £25,000 offering as long as it led to the capture of Dale Cregan. However, they believed it would be enough to change someone's life, but it wasn't enough to completely change someone's life due to the notoriety of Dale Cregan. So they upped it to 50k. A policeman during this case came forward to investigators and told them posters around Manchester were being pulled down and new ones were going in place, and rumours were spreading fast around the community. The new posters which were put up said, "If you grass to the police, you won't be alive long enough to spend the £50,000. This caused so much fear in the community and panic and concern that they would never find Cregan. And herd mentality is a big thing, I'd say, that once panic starts, panic spreads. They had to create an anonymous way for someone to come forward without posing threat to Cregan and his associates. So they would change their tactics and said the person must call Crime Watch with the tip, and they would only receive the money if it led to the arrest. Despite the reward and the system for someone to come forward with information, the community stayed silent. They were scared for their lives and they were afraid they wouldn't be protected, which is truly understandable. You wouldn't go into Manchester without seeing the posters of Dale Cregan's face everywhere. There were even vans with LED screens driving around the city showing his face. The search for Cregan expanded across the seas to different areas of Europe with the assumption he had escaped and somehow never got stopped at border patrol or anywhere like that. You'd hope that because of his distinctive look, he would have stopped, but no luck there. The 2nd of September 2012, Anthony Wilkinson surrendered to police. After interviews, it was made clear that Cregan was well and truly the main perpetrator to all these crimes and murders which had been carried out. 18th of September 2012. After 5 weeks, 39 days since David Short's murder outside his home, Greater Manchester Police received a phone call from a member of the public reporting some damage to his property.
Police emergency.
Someone just threw a big concrete slab through my back window and ran off.
Of the house or a car? What are we talking?
No, sorry, my back window in the house.
In the house. What's the address there, please?
30 Abbey Gardens, Motion.
Did you see them?
Seen one, yeah.
Do you know them?
No, I don't know.
Okay. Do you know why they've done it?
I haven't got a clue.
Okay. Is it a rear window, did you say?
Yeah, it's in the back garden.
Were you in the room where it came through, or did you hear the bang?
No, I was upstairs. I looked out the window and seen one boy running off.
Is it a kitchen window that's gone through?
Yeah, kitchen.
So it's just happened prior to your ringing, has it, yeah?
Yeah.
Which way have they ran? What direction?
Ran there. There's a field at the back, and I've seen them running over the field. I can point it out to the officer.
Okay, was he a white male?
He had an adult, mate, so I couldn't really tell you, but
He was a male though, yeah.
yeah, he was a male.
You know how old he was?
No, but he was about my size, about 5'9".
Was he slim,
Medium build.
Medium build.
Medium.
And what was he wearing then?
Black coat with a hood up, grey tracksuit bottoms.
Was he carrying anything, this lad, other than obviously the piece of stone that he lobbed?
It didn't look like it, mate.
No, 39. You didn't see anybody else, no? Your name, please?
Adam.
What's your second name, Adam?
Gartry.
Sorry, spell that for me, please.
Gar.
Yeah?
T-R-E-E.
E-R-E-E?
No, T-R-E-E.
Right.
Gartry.
Gartry, sorry. That's that didn't... And you live at 30, do you, Adam?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, I'll get an officer up there, have a look round, see if they can see anybody similar, and then they'll come and see you. All right, Adam?
How long would it take, do you know, roughly?
Because it's just happened, it's gone in on the priority, so that's within the hour, certainly.
All right then, thanks very much.
Okay.
I'll be waiting.
Local police constables Fiona Bone and Nicola Hughes were asked to attend the scene. At 10 a.m, the two drove 3 miles from Hyde Police Station to the address in Hattersley. Little did they know they had been lured into a trap which Cregan had crafted. These two women had no idea what they were coming up against. Cregan opened the door at the address at a masonette in Abbey Garden, Mottram in Longdale. He then fired a Glock 9mm weapon at them both. No words were exchanged. He just started attacking them. They did nothing to provoke or even try and solve the situation. He took it upon himself to attack these two innocent women who had no link to him or his life. In an attempt to save her life and Nicola's, Fiona tried to use her taser to apprehend Cregan, but she was unable to. Both made a run for it. Fiona Brune tried to dart to the side across the front garden, while PC Hughes, feisty but only 5'3" and tall, turned back up the path. They didn't get far. More shots were fired at them. A shot to Nicola Hughes' back severed her spinal cord, and she collapsed paralysed on the ground. She was shot 3 more times, but it wasn't distinguished if it's as she fell or when she was laying face down onto the path. They both never stood a chance. Colleagues who were their friends during their careers rushed to the scene to save them but were unable to. Fiona lost her life at the address, and Nicola was driven to hospital where she too later lost her life. Before help arrived, Cregan fled the scene, leaving them to die. Cregan threw a hand grenade and ran. It detonated in the garden where the officers lay dying. It landed the closest to PC Hughes, further harming her already terribly injured body. Later on, CCTV footage shows Cregan driving to Hyde Police Station and handing himself in. The one thing that broke my heart when reading about these two wonderful women was their parents. Both parents were contacted that their children had been murdered, and it broke me. They were both so precious and integral to their families' lives. They had so much life to give and so much hope for their futures. All they were doing was carrying out a routine check, which was considered normal. They regularly received these all the times, but they lost their lives. For what reason? What did Cregan gain from this? It changed how policing was done in Britain and left deep psychological scars. Some officers who attended the scene, who were close to them and saw the whole carnage, would never return to work. One took his life. For others who still remain, police officers of all its ranks, it defines their lives and the policing decisions they make. After a while, it slowly made the headlines. The whole nation were devastated and heartbroken. They were unarmed at the time, attending something common, and they lost their lives to this monster. Nicola was described as easygoing, intelligent, and had such a witty sense of humour. And Fiona was described as ambitious and cared so deeply for the people, and she absolutely loved her career that she had chosen. After all this had happened, police were determined to get Cregan in prison for the rest of his life. During his 5 weeks evading the police, it was discovered he did a lot more than just hiding from them. He held a family hostage in order to stay hidden and threatened to blow up their daughter if they blew his cover. He allowed one to go back to work so it didn't seem suspicious that he was missing, but made sure that he knew if he went to the police or reported him, he would kill his partner and his child. In police interviews, Cregan apologised and said he wished it was 2 male police officers which attended the scene and he killed, which is so disgusting anyway, to wish death upon anyone, let alone a specific gender. The audacity this monster has is beyond me, and he had many, many, many opportunities to not harm them as they're walking up that pathway. He could have fled without a word of action and stayed hidden, which isn't ideal. Still, they stood no chance against him.
I wanted to come here to Manchester myself to pay my own personal respects to the 2 officers, the women police officers who fell in the line of duty. I think the whole country has been profoundly shocked by what has happened, and it's right that we praise the work that they did and remember all that they've done. I think it's also important that the government makes sure that it is doing everything it can to help the Greater Manchester Police Force tackle organised crime and gang-related violence. And I think that's an important conversation and important work to be done too.
A statement which Fiona's dad said in an interview hit me hardest when looking into the case. He said, "You don't expect to plan your child's funeral, you expect them to plan yours," which just heightened the gravity of what he had done. It was a life which was stolen, a life that had so much to give, a life that had so many memories and so many milestones yet to hit, and he stole that from them. Stole it from their families, their friends, everyone who knew them. He took that away from them. 3rd of October 2012, 2 weeks on, and the public paid their respects on the funerals of Fiona and Nicola. The public lined the streets to show love and support to the families and friends who had lost their lives. A lot of the colleagues felt this rush of guilt for their murders, and the only way they could explain and justify these emotions was by saying they tried to reassure the public they could keep them safe. However, they couldn't keep their own safe. They couldn't protect 2 of their own. In 4 months, 4 people were murdered on the streets of Manchester. Cregan had yet to be punished for his acts of terror. The case was built so strong when they were going to trial to put this man away from life. The 3rd of February 2013, the level of security surrounding Cregan was unprecedented. It was insane. There were armed policemen surrounding Cregan, which emphasised how dangerous he truly was. There were snipers on the roof. There was a barrier around him. There was people with armed shields protecting this man as he went into court. I'm not going to say what I actually think about that, but I think you get what I'm thinking. He pleaded not guilty to all the murders. 2 weeks into the trial, he changed his plea to guilty for the murders of Nicola and Fiona. He justifies this by saying it was an act of revenge. The police had supposedly hounded his family for months since the murders of the Short family, and since he had fled the police, it made him so irritated and he lashed out at 2 of their own as an act of retaliation. It's not a children's playground. It really isn't. But after 19 weeks of trial, the jury found him guilty of all accounts and all 4 murders. He was handed a whole life tariff, which is truly rare in this country and the most severe, as we don't have the death penalty in the UK. The public and the family said that this was deserved and it was a life for a life. He took 4, he gets a whole life tariff. You get all those lives in prison, rotting away. Cregan showed no remorse throughout the whole trial after being convicted and believed his actions were justified. Not sure why he thinks they're justified, but who knows? Who knows? However, despite all these horrors being carried out over the span of months, legacies were formed in people's honours. In March 2014, Bren, Nicola's father, established the Nicola Hughes Memorial Fund, which helps give support to skills to young people who have suffered terrible loss, such as murders, unfortunate deaths, accidents, all of that. One situation he showed is he provided something so small but school clothes for a kid whose mum had been murdered. Amazing. Like, you wouldn't think of the small things like that. You think of the bigger picture, but that, perfect. And for Fiona, a building was named in her honour, named Fiona's Garden. Researching this case made me so angry because he is a monster. Monster like him. Oh, I don't get it. I don't understand how anyone can have the mindset to kill 2, and that was a rival gang situation, still father and son, disgusting, to then go on and take the lives of 2 women who had nothing to do with him didn't even provoke him, wasn't linked to anything, just doing a regular check. Doesn't make sense. Confused. Glad he's put away. Thank goodness. The only reason I saw this case was on TikTok, was a van driving down the motorway and all these people surrounding him. And I was like, who has that level of notoriety that can be covered like that? So, yeah, I'm sorry I had a bit of a gap as well. Life, as I said, life happens. But thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, and please give me case suggestions, because I'm going to keep doing cases that I find interesting, I think needs to be spoken about. But I'd love to hear your opinion of what you want to hear. And I always love feedback. I do love feedback in the comments about the way I do things. So thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to listen. Look after yourself. Take care. Bye.